Hanse, good afternoon. I'm Creeson Agecoutay. Welcome to this APTN National News Special where we are marking the National Day for Truth and Reconciliation. Over the next half hour, we'll take you to Ottawa where residential school survivors and others are gathering, including our Dennis Ward, and we'll be checking in with him to get a sense of what's happening on the ground. We also have a very special guest in studio here, and we'll talk to her soon. For now, we will begin with Dennis Ward live in Ottawa. Dennis, can you tell us what's happening there?
Thanks, Creeson. Yeah, there is a sea of orange that's beginning to flow in here on the front lawn of Parliament, and music in the background as we get set for remembering the children, the event that's going to be taking place here shortly. We're going to hear from some of the speakers, some of the survivors themselves who will be speaking later this afternoon, a little later on in this show as well. But it's a nice day down here so far, a nice turnout here as well, Creeson.
Yeah, definitely some beautiful weather there. We'll check back in with you soon there, Dennis. Thank you for that. We're joined now in studio by residential school survivor and warrior Geraldine Shingoose, and many of you know her as Grandma Shingoose. She was forced to attend the Muskowhegan Residential School in Saskatchewan for 9 years from 1962 to 1971. Today, she is using her strong voice to bring more awareness about Canada's residential school system and educating as much people as she can each year. Thank you for joining us today, Grandma Shingoose. Appreciate it. Can you tell us what September 30th, Truth and Reconciliation Day means to you?
National Truth and Reconciliation Day means, like as a residential school survivor, just reminds me of my experience in residential school, but not only my experience, all the residential school survivors out there, the ones that passed on, and then also to remember the little children that never made it home.
No, very important. Being a residential school survivor yourself, how does it make you feel to see more and more people take part in Orange Shirt Day on September 30th?
Oh, this year, 2024, like here in Winnipeg, the walk I seen this morning, like, you know, they said it was a sea of orange, but it was an ocean of orange. And I see more people coming out and walking with us and giving us that support that we need. I just want to commend them for coming out and supporting us.
We were all working on this show in studio here, and we were seeing all the people walking by, so we came out on Portage, and we're all taking photos and pictures and shaking hands with everybody. And there was the one moment that I remember was there was a guy on the side saying, "Thank you, I love you." He was saying that to all the crowd as they were walking by, "Thank you, thank you. My grandpa is a residential school survivor. Thank you." It was such a powerful moment.
Yeah, it's just like Justice Murray Sinclair said, like, you know, in the TRC, he said, "I see you, I hear you, and I believe you." And today, it's just acknowledging our experience, our truth as survivors.
Yeah. What is your message to those who have yet to take part in Orange Shirt Day?
Well, we have individuals out there that don't believe that residential school and happened, and some people don't acknowledge our truth and deny and minimize our experience. So I just want them to know that they need to unlearn, like, you know, their biases. They need to unlearn their stereotypes and their assumptions of residential school survivors and our experience, and just come to learn our stories. We're willing to share our stories, and a reminder to them that there's not too many of us left, and that they need to hear our stories, our truth.
No, important messages to make, and every day can be an educational day.
Yes.
Eh? Yeah.
And I wanted to acknowledge a survivor. Her name is Vina Swain. She's 99 years old, and she's celebrating her 100th birthday on October 14th, and she's a residential school survivor that attend here at Portage Residential School. So those are the survivors that we need to honor on this National Day Truth and Reconciliation Day.
Yeah, definitely an important day indeed. I guess, what is your message to the youth out there, the Indigenous youth, all youth out there who are learning about residential school education? What is your message to them?
My message to them is just witness our stories. There's so many resources out there, videos and documents and books. There's so many books, so many authors out there, Indigenous authors that wrote about their experiences with residential school. Seek them out, and I think the calls to action, is taking place. It's actually happening, and this year I just see it more support. There was probably 10,000 people today in that walk, compared to the first year, and it just shows that love and that compassion to us survivors. My heart is happy today.
Yeah, no, I was choking up a bit. I was thinking about my family who attended residential school and seeing the Sea of Orange and people of all different backgrounds, people from all across Winnipeg and different diversities, all taking part. It was such a powerful thing to see.
And then just that genocide we experienced in residential school was we carried that pain for many years, but we carried for the future generations, and we want them to carry forward and move forward in that healing way.
Yep. Well, thank you, Grandma Shingoose. We'll have another chat a little later in the show. Thank you for your time.
Miigwech.
Hi. The National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors and others who might need to support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. We're going to go back to our Dennis Ward, who's in Ottawa, to see what's happening there as we're just minutes away from the start of the 90-minute commemoration on Parliament Hill. Here's Dennis, joined by special guest Laurie McDonald. Dennis?
Thanks, Creeson, and thanks to Grandma as well for sharing her time with us. Saw those pictures out of Winnipeg, pretty amazing. Laurie McDonald is our guest here, a residential school survivor, a longtime teacher, worked in the child welfare system as well. Laurie, I guess just your thoughts with looking out on this crowd and on this day.
For me, I say, Niskootawin, I'm so grateful. When we looked out here, I see a real sea of orange. And and a lot of important people coming around here. I see this person here, I see that person there, and these people are, yes, important in their own right. But what's more important, there are people out there like me as a survivor from the residential school system. And when I look at those people out there, I'm looking and I'm thinking probably the same way as they are. It's a long time coming. And now we could say we're not alone. Like many survivors throughout this time, we always thought once we left those schools, our stories would be going in our pack sack, and they would come with us when we went to the Creator. Now, thanks to the NTCR and all those people that are behind the scenes, stories like mine, which I find are sacred. Stories like all of them are sacred, and that's something no one's going to ever take away from us. Because all too long, people in this beautiful city, which was government, denied what existed, but we knew growing up what was going on. There are many people out there who say, nothing happened to you guys. I say to them, walk in my shoes, walk in my path. Yes, it took us a long time to gather ourselves together and become a collective like this. But that takes courage and an individual courage. And I say to everybody out there, next time you walk down the streets in Manitoba, Edmonton, Calgary, Vancouver, when you see somebody that is down and out and you put them in that category as being a mental health or addicted, give them time to talk. That person has a story. I am from Muskego-Sick. Muskego-Sick is Enoch First Nation. But to us, where we come from, Muskego-Sick is a place of medicines. We talk of medicines in the truest sense of being what's out there. The air, the river, the trees, the lonely bee and mosquito. But they're all part of us as medicines. I come from a very long line of traditional people. As memory takes me back at age 5, I remember my kokum taking me out in the field and saying, one day you are going to walk in this world and you're going to have a lot of troubles because you're a very special person. You were a two-spirited child. And I had no idea at that age what that meant. But I grew up with the teachings of the fan, the teachings of the powwow, the teachings of the pipe. But never did I really understand that as I grew older and put in these institutions, that I would become a subject to such profound abuse and everything. One thing that was lacking in the Truth and Reconciliation when our leaders were negotiating and the calls to action, there was nothing in there that made people aware that we as two-spirited people existed, and there was nothing in there that made them aware that our struggles were real, our struggles were profound. But they put us in one little basket that we were all the same. I stand here today as living proof that I survived. I'm a strong person. I'm an educator. I am Katayak, but I'm also a resilient survivor. There are many out there who are waiting for that message, and there are many out there that are struggling with identity. And there are many of my peers that went to the Creator without saying, I am who I am, because they weren't allowed to. Church, government said those things were not right. But they were right. They were part of our culture. They're part of who we are. And it's part of who we became.
Lori, you touched on a lot of stuff there, a lot of great stuff. Just really appreciate you taking the time here to share all of that with us and your courage as well. Looking forward to you speaking later in the show here. Thanks again.
Hi.
Creeson, Grandma, we'll throw it back to you.
Thank you, Dennis and Laurie McDonald. There was also a walk in downtown Winnipeg earlier today. The event was put on by the Wasay Healing Center. TR Wheatley spoke with Wasay Executive Director during the walk. TR?
Yeah, thanks, Creeson. So we're here at the Odina Circle right now at the Forks. They're about to start walking. I'm here with Wayne Mason Jr.
Yes, hello.
Tell me about your event.
Well, today it was nice to see everybody coming out here wearing their orange shirts. So we're going to be getting the walk here in just minutes. We're going to be heading to the RBC Convention Center where we'll start our Orange Shirt Day powwow. And we're going to be also honoring my late aunt, Grand Chief Kathy Merrick. And so yeah, we're hoping everybody's going to have a wonderful time here today. It's going to be an emotional day.
And this is the 4th annual event you're doing. Tell me a little bit about why that was so important for you and Wasay to do that.
Well, when we started 4 years ago, it was just a small powwow, and it's grown now. You know, there's thousands of people that are coming out. One of us at Wasay Healing Center has been impacted by the residential schools. We've had grandparents and parents that were survivors of residential schools. So for us, this is an opportunity to recognize and honor our survivors and to remember the children that didn't make it home. I'm not sure if we can shoulder this by ourselves anymore. This is getting huge. I want to thank the government, the provincial government, Premier Wab Kinew for stepping up and making sure that this day happens, and the Southern Chiefs Organization along with the Assembly of Manitoba Chiefs, because when we lost our funding, that was it, and I wasn't sure how we were going to do this, but when I had put up a poster of canceling Orange Shirt Day, within minutes I was getting calls. They also told me how important this event is to all the Indigenous people, but not only the Indigenous people, our non-Indigenous people who want to become allies. They want to know more about Orange Shirt Day and the history of what happened here in Canada with the residential school. So it's nice to see everyone coming out in numbers.
And so you were just talking about it, the funding issue now. Wasay, you're obviously here to help residential school survivors and other people. Tell me a little bit about the hardships.
Health Canada has terminated our funding agreement, and we're trying to find ways or solutions to continue to open the doors. So tomorrow, I have no idea, but we're going to try to work with the government and some MPs and see what we can do in terms of keeping our doors open.
And so, last final words here. What should you say to people out there who want to become allies?
Wear an orange shirt. If you want to know anything, what had happened in the history of Canada, educate yourselves. Come out and talk to survivors. When there's events like this, there's a lot of survivors here. There's Wasay Healing Center, and in the future, whenever there's events where there's survivors, come out and help out and support and be open.
Yes, thank you for your time today, Wayne.
Thank you, TR. We're back in our Winnipeg studio with Geraldine Shingoose, or as many of us love to call her, Grandma Shingoose. She's a residential school survivor and warrior. Grandma Shingoose, how do you and your family take part in this day and week?
Yeah, it's been a really hard week, and the reason why I say that is because I have to share my story over and over and over again to just bring that awareness and to bring that true history of residential school, because that was my vision, was for people to know our experience. And it's hard on me emotionally, mentally, and physically. So I'm tired, and my family has been really great support. They ground me and bring me that love that I need.
A lot of good smudging going on probably throughout the week as well.
Oh,
hey?
yeah.
As for all the audiences, this is live shots in Ottawa of the events that are happening right now, just for our viewers at home watching. Grandma Shingoose, what do you hope to see for this day 5 or 10 years down the road?
I hope that more Canadians join in, and I hope that more healing is needed for survivors and the secondary survivors. We need more of that, because the intergenerational trauma that we experience is passed down generation to generation, and there needs to be more focus on healing. But I hope to see in 10 years that everybody acknowledges our truth, so we don't have to tell it over and over again.
How did it make you feel, Grandma Shingoose, when the federal government capped the funding for First Nations to do their own searches for the residential school records and the scanning of the grounds of former residential school sites? This, of course, was reversed, their decision. The federal government reversed that decision, but I know there was a lot of disappointment during that time. How did it make you feel when that funding was initially capped?
When I heard the news, I was just taken back. I became angry, and I'm knowing that the communities and the First Nations leadership, all their work that they were doing, to do the searches and the planning, and it takes a lot of work and planning, and finding out that the funding was cut, it wasn't taking care of those little ancestors, the ones that need to be found, because they're saying, find us, we need to find them, we need to give them names, and we need to bring them home.
What is your message to the federal government regarding what happened and moving ahead here, moving forward? What do you want the federal government to know?
My message to the federal government is that they know that what happened, it's been kept a secret all these years. Like, as survivors, we've been saying, sharing our truth for decades, and nobody listened to us. And when the 215 came out, like, you know, it was finally, like, you know, they were knowing, like, our truth. They were listening to us. They validated our stories. But we got to take care of those little ones, like, because there's families out there that need to know and find out, like, and it's going to be it's going to hurt, like, you know, but it's also going to be healing, like, you know, for the communities and bringing those little ancestors home. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Grandma Shingus. We really appreciate you coming down to our Winnipeg studio and talking to us again. And this is your third time doing it,
yes.
So we're so thankful. Thank you so much. Hi from the bottom of our hearts. We really appreciate it.
for having me.
Thank you. And the National Indian Residential School Crisis Line is available for survivors and others who might need support. That number is 1-866-925-4419. Time now to go back to Dennis in Ottawa, who spoke with residential school survivor Keith Chiefmoon earlier. Dennis?
Thanks, Creeson. We're here with Keith Chiefmoon, Blood Tribe. Keith, your first time speaking or even being at the event here in Ottawa, I guess just your initial thoughts of what you're seeing here.
I think it's really important that, you know, with the history of the residential school, as the, you know, with the atrocities that happened to our people, it has to be made known, and it has to be shared with all the whoever is listening and whoever's there to, because as far as what we went through, I call it genocide, and I think it's that Sir John A. Macdonald, he did his best to annihilate us, but we're still here. We survived and we're still here. We're not going no place. And the other thing that I really want to share with this being here, and it's Gate, see, we still speak our language. I still speak my language, even though I went through going through all the atrocities of at the residential school, and the nuns calling me, I didn't realize what the word was, but during the nuns that came in the classroom, they called me a Chien, and I had no idea what that was. After I talked to somebody, then they said, and I understood what it meant, and so all this time, this is what they were telling. So what they did to us is very, you know, it's very, again, I'm just kind of rattled that they haven't, they talk about all these, laying charges of criminal, you know, that the genocide and all that, the Geneva Act, I think that's what, some place in Europe where they can, so that Canada hasn't been subjected to those, what they did to us. And again, it's not, we're here, we're not going no place, and what they did to us, they stole our lands and everything else. And so we're here, and we still work with them. And because of the fact that who we are as needs, we're willing to, even though they did everything to us to annihilate us, but we still want to work for humanity reasons. The Creator put us here to have that, to work with humanity reasons. So that's some of the things that I want to share, that even though they did for forgiveness, I know it's really hard for me to say, but we're just leave it in the hands of the Creator. We tell them this is what they did to us, leave it in your hands. So that's the impact it has. So speaking here, I want to share that Senator Murray Sinclair, when he did the Osborne Inquiry in Manitoba, he said, one recommendation that he said, if you see something wrong, you have to say something. If you don't, you're part of the problem. So I'm here to share whatever little information I have.
Well, Keith, we're looking forward to your speaking here later today in your own language, in Blackfoot. Yes. What do we do to, keep the momentum from this day moving forward when the orange shirts come off tomorrow?
Well, I think the awareness is really important. I think the Canadians, they still have to realize that everybody talks about that Canada He's one of the, I guess you'd say, one of the leaders in humanity, taking care, and they have to look at the history. So hopefully this creates an awareness. Like for example, the current leader of the Conservative Party, he's in denial of all this. So he needs to be educated. He needs to know what took place. And again, it was the same political party that initiated this with John A. Macdonald in the Conservative. So the Conservative is still out there. So hopefully we can start to realize, like I said, we're not going no place. We're still willing to work with what they did to us. And we want to move forward in a good way. Like in our daily prayers, we always ask for, we call it sukkah, goodness, so that we realize they've done, like that's part of our teachings, our values, our customs, is to forgiveness, and that's what we're trying to do with society, Canadian society, that we're here.
Keith, as I mentioned, you're going to be delivering your speech here, not only to the audience here, but a national audience in Blackfoot. How important is that for you?
Well, the whole thing, the impact of what the language is, that one of the first things that Sir John A. Macdonald, what he did was for us to lose our language. And that's why it's important for us to still speak in our language, because that's who we are. The Creator gave us this language, so it's important that we haven't lost it. We might have misplaced it, but we still speak the language. So that's the idea, is that we are. It's meaning we still speak the language.
Awesome stuff, Keith. Really appreciate you taking some time for us here, and wish you all the best and all the luck up there with your speech. Keith Chief Moon, residential school survivor from Treaty 7 Blood Tribe, speaking here later this afternoon. We'll throw it back to Winnipeg.
Thank you, Dennis and Keith. We go now to a live shot in Ottawa of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission's Bentwood Box. The Bentwood Box is a lasting and sacred tribute to all residential school survivors. And for 6 years, the box traveled to 8 national TRC events across the country and was present during the Truth and Reconciliation hearings from residential school survivors. The Bentwood Box was commissioned by the TRC in 2009 and made by Coast Salish artist Luke Marston. As it traveled across the country during those 6 years, survivors would place personal items in the box to symbolize their journey towards healing and reconciliation. The permanent residence for the box is now at the National Center for Truth and Reconciliation here in Winnipeg. That's all the time we have for today, but stay tuned, as Remembering the Children live from Ottawa will be up next with Cree translation on our APTN Languages channel and English channel on APTN. APTN Languages will air the French translation at 6 p.m. Eastern Time, which means APTN National News will be on an hour early at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. So make sure to join us at a different time, a little earlier in the day. Thank you all for joining us, and a special thanks to Grandma Shingoose for joining me in studio, and our special guests in Ottawa with Dennis Ward. We'll be back here in a couple more hours' time. Hi, thank you for watching.